right, so today, let's talk about the math that makes money. What's separating you from making a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s a day if you're really good versus building an 8 or 9 figure business? What is keeping you from the success you deserve? And honestly, almost all the time, it's in how you actually look at your numbers, finances. This is the math that makes money. We're gonna break down 2 of the most popular ways of looking at profit. And then I'm gonna show you the way that I look at it. And this is what has helped me turn struggling 6 and 7 figure businesses into 8 or 9 figure businesses that go to exit every single year. So stick around to the end so that you don't miss it. So the first thing we're gonna start off today is where everybody starts off, ROAS. This is revenue divided by spend. It's return on ad spend. Now, basically, everybody when they get started is told that this is what they should care about. And eventually, everybody knows that it's absolutely terrible. But let me show you why. Let's use an example. So we have a $40 spend on Facebook and a $20 bit of revenue. That means we have a 2x ROAS. We doubled our money. But that's not actually true. So let's break down the Facebook money that we look at as ROAS, right? So we have Facebook, that's driving money. We have a return on ad spend, but we might also be running Google ads, or hopefully we have email, and maybe our customers can talk to each other eventually in the real world. So we've got word of mouth, and we have organic efforts, and there's sales coming from all sorts of different places, and they all have their own version of attribution. And also, what if we have ad blocking? We actually don't know. And the honest truth is, there's no way to know. Because anybody can come from any number of those things. And all of those things are gonna attribute some revenue. That's attribution. But also, almost all of them cost money. So let's break down that equation again. ROAS is revenue divided by ad spend. But that revenue number isn't accurate. Because when it's the attributed revenue by Facebook, we just showed all of the other places revenue might come from. And well, that ad spend isn't the only ad spend you had, and it's also not the only reason that you got revenue. And if you were to stop that ad spend today, odds are you probably would get a sale tomorrow. So ultimately, what ROAS is at its core is an inaccurate number on the top of the fraction. The numerator, revenue, is not accurate, divided by a number that is not the reason that other number happened, ad spend. Now, it helped, but we just showed all of the reasons somebody might be interested in buying, and all of the places that might take credit for that sale. And almost all of those places cost money, which means that ultimately ROAS itself is complete nonsense. So what do? A lot of folks at this point will say, well, we're gonna go on to MER, but MER is just a fancier version of ROAS. And more importantly, why this doesn't help us is it doesn't tell us what to do next. That ad that spent $20 and drove 40 of revenue, we just showed why that 40 revenue is not actually 100% from that ad. And tomorrow, that performance might be completely different. The reason that ROAS itself, above and beyond being an inaccurate number divided by something that had nothing to do with it, is a bad metric is because it doesn't allow us to take any action. The actionability of that data is 0. If you just chase attributed revenue from yesterday, you're not gonna be able to predict what happens tomorrow. That's just not the way it works, because the path of somebody getting to a sale from your business is dramatically more complicated than just a Facebook ad. And no 2 people arrive at that same point, the same time, the same way, ever. That's just not what happens. That's just not the way it's done. Eventually, you realize this and you move on to something a bit more intricate. And this has become really popular over the last few years. LTV to CAC. Now, this is lifetime value divided by customer acquisition cost. How much money did somebody spend with the business? And how much money did it get them to buy the first time? How much money did somebody spend with the business? And how much money did it cost to acquire that customer? And full disclosure and credit where it's due, this has been made insanely popular by a guy named Alex Hormozi. And Alex Hormozi is absolutely right. He's not wrong. This is valuable. But if you pay attention to the examples he gives, which most people I see don't actually give note to, He's talking about memberships and subscriptions. When he's giving the example of LTV divided by CAC, it's often in a gym membership situation. Remember, gym launch. How much does it cost for me to get somebody to join my gym and how many months do they stick around? That's the equation that he's looking at. That's LTV divided by CAC, lifetime value divided by customer acquisition costs. And in that situation, it completely makes sense. Also, same thing goes for SaaS companies, reoccurring revenue models. This 100% makes sense. But odds are that's not you. You're probably in direct consumer, you're probably in e-commerce. So let's actually break down that same equation we had on ROAS, but now we're gonna put it through the lens of LTV CAC in e-commerce. So let's say, for example, we have a $120 LTV. Remember, our CAC, or customer acquisition cost, was $20. So now we're looking at it like, wow, LTV of 120, CAC is only 20 bucks. We have a 6x lift. We didn't get a 2x ROAS, we got a 6x ROAS. This is amazing. And full disclosure, I'm counting this by saying we have 3 orders of that $40 AOV offer, that 40 revenue, they buy it 3 times. And when they buy it 3 times, that gives us an LTV of 120 bucks. So let's take what Alex Hormozi said for money. Let's take that LTV to CAC ratio and see how it all plays out. Now remember, in this situation, we have $100 profit. Because we have 120 LTV and a $20 CAC, that's amazing. But actually, our products cost money to make. And you have to pay for every one of those sales. The idea that you are going to acquire a customer, never pay for them to get a transaction again, well, that is true. You don't have to pay for them, although there's no way for you to ever not pay for them. You could say, well, I could exclude them from my Facebook ads. Are you also excluding them from your influencers, your affiliates? Are they being excluded from any organic content you make? Do you pay somebody to run email? What about your website design? Like, there's no way you're getting those additional transactions for free. And let me ask you this. Have you ever bought from a company, loved it so much, you never saw any advertising from them ever again, and you just kept buying? No, that's just not the way it works. And if you did see ads from people, are you more likely to buy from them? Probably, yeah. So what we actually need to understand is that $20 sale from before on that ROAS was not even necessarily the first sale with that customer. There's no way in that ROAS marketer to know that. So we're actually breaking it down that every sale in that journey on average is $20 with a $40 AOV, which is fine. But now we have to actually take a look at that equation of LTV to CAC again. It's not a customer acquisition cost. Customer acquisition cost in a metric when it comes to direct consumer or e-commerce without a reoccurring revenue device is a fallacy. Brand loyalty is basically something that just does not exist. Think about how loyal you are to any brand where you've only ever bought from them once. It just doesn't happen. And that means that basically LTV divided by CAC is illegitimate because we're not doing that same style business. And that also means that in e-commerce and direct consumer, that equation of LTV to CAC is basically illegitimate. And to be fair, if you're running a gym, you also pay money to keep those people around. You are making sure the gym is clean. You are getting better staff. You are upgrading your equipment. You are making investments into your operations that make that marketing budget look super efficient. But when you actually add in the costs of doing business, well, that metric is not just actually pure profit. It goes into the operations of the rest of the business. So that means that LTV divided by CAC basically isn't legitimate when it comes to e-commerce and direct consumer. Now, to be fair, it's a great way of understanding the profit from your marketing, even in a membership business, but that's not the profit the business makes because there's operations and a whole bunch of other things. Now, primarily in those businesses, that's hiring individuals, getting better gym equipment, making sure the place is clean, paying rent. There's a million things that go into it. We're not gonna break all of that stuff down here, but anyway, LTV to CAC, phenomenal in a subscription and membership MRR device business. Basically makes no sense when we come to direct consumer. So what are we actually gonna look at? Spoiler alert, this is what I use all of the time to bring businesses to 8 or 9 figures and to exits, and I've been doing it for years, and this is ultimately not something that I invented. This has been around forever. And high-level operators look at their business in this way. So I'm gonna show you the difference between how a performance marketer looks at their money so that they can look good on paper at vanity metrics and ultimately struggle, and what growth marketers and brand operators and finance teams look at to understand how much more they can grow and do so in a predictable way. We're gonna talk about PSM. This is profitable scaling margin. PSM is lifetime value divided by the cost per acquisition, how much each sale costs, not how much is it cost to acquire a customer because that's illegitimate, plus the cost of goods. How much does it cost to produce our product? Times the number of sales somebody has. Now, before we dive into this, let's review how we got here, right? So we had ROAS, where we had a 2x ROAS because we spent 20, made 40 according to the Facebook attribution. Awesome. Basically useless information. Then we got to LTV to CAC, which is $120 LTV and a $20 acquisition cost. That's a 6x lift, that's $100 profit. And it's also complete nonsense. So let's break down this equation. Same customer, same journey, everything in profitable scaling margin so that you actually know what's happening with your money. PSM is the LTV divided by the sum of CPA and COGS times the number of purchases. Let's break this down in a real example. We have $120 LTV and we have a $20 CPA, and now we're actually gonna bake in the fact that our product costs any money. So let's say it's a $10 item, right? So we're making a 4x margin on it, healthy margin in the business, makes complete sense. And we're gonna say we're gonna multiply that times 3 purchases because that's how we got to 120 LTV. Now this is a messy equation, so let's make it simpler to read. It's 120 LTV minus $20 CPA times 3 minus $10 cost of goods times 3. So what we have here is 120 LTV minus $60 for the CPA, because remember you have to pay for all those sales, and $30 for the cost of goods, because remember products actually cost money to make. So that's not actually a 2x ROAS. We don't actually have an LTV to CAC that says we have $100 profit. What we actually earn on that customer journey is 30 bucks. That's a $30 profit after 3 sales. Now let's say each sale takes 90 days. That means you make a $30 profit after 3 sales. That takes 9 months to earn $30 profit. That might be a bit of a struggle. You have a 2x ROAS, it's amazing. You have a $100 profit on an LTV to CAC, but actually it takes you 9 months to earn $30. The point here is, if you look at your offers to understand what's good and bad for you and ultimately understand your unit economics, you could also say, well, what if I could get a $40 profit in 45 days and I'd earn $10 more ridiculously faster versus earning $30 profit over 9 months? It's not about ROAS. It's not about LTV and CAC because those numbers don't mean anything when it comes to direct consumer. So let's break this down one more time. We're looking at money. Everybody starts off looking at ROAS, and to be fair, that's basically a trash metric built purely on performance marketer vanity. And then smarter people move to LTV to CAC, but that breaks down as soon as you realize, well, my products actually cost money, and there's no customer in the world at scale where I pay money to show them one thing and I never pay any money for them ever again and they just buy over and over again. That's just not the way it works. You have to do the email marketing, you're investing in the organic social, you're doing the Google ads. It's the same thing that if you have a membership, like in your gym, you are hiring better quality people, you're getting better quality equipment, you're doing community events, and you're making sure the place is clean. These are operational costs for the customer experience to ultimately keep them coming back. Yes, you actually do pay in a gym membership to have people come back, and that payment is in people and in things, not to sell somebody, but to make sure they don't leave. This always is the way you have to look at it. Retaining a customer relationship costs money. It's an intellectually dishonest statement for anybody to say that LTV to CAC is legitimate for direct to consumer. So instead, we're gonna look at PSM, and that really matters because we're gonna make more money, and we're gonna do so faster. That's what PSM is all about. And do so in a way where you actually understand what's going on, because you're no longer valuing vanity metrics and you're actually looking at unit economics and finance like somebody that cares about money instead of their ego. And this is something where I get so much pushback when I show them this, but I legitimately, we just walked through 3 examples. There's no argument to say that the PSM number isn't real. There's no way that you can come back and say, well, actually, we make way more than $30 over 90 days. We literally just took the LTV and broke down all the unit economics. There is no argument. And so you might even have a ROAS of a 1.1 or an LTV to CAC ratio of just a 2, but if you get a $40 profit in 45 days versus a $30 profit over 9 months, that's probably better for your business. So, in conclusion, let's go back to the board and break this down one more time. PSM is real money. It is including cost, and it talks about cash flow and profit, not vanity. PSM is more valuable than LTV to CAC. And ultimately, you're gonna be able to understand, well, my LTV to CAC on a bunch of offers is totally different, but my PSM is more or less static, and if I focus on the one that's best for my business, I can stop promoting 12 things and I can do one thing very well and I'll make a lot more money. And of course, ROAS is, well, just trash. So the point here is this. What we've talked about today is the math that makes money. And when you start looking at your marketing as a facet of business operations, instead of saying that a marketer gets to take credit for all revenue from anybody and has no cost, you begin to have a more realistic view into your business. And if you want to be successful, you need to look at your numbers in this way. I cannot tell you how many folks come into the Facebook Ads MBA program. By the way, the QR code's been down on the screen the whole time. I can't tell you how many folks have come to the Facebook Ads MBA program, have been on consulting calls with me back when I used to do that, joined my brand builder program, all the folks in the Disruptor School, and on Twitter and YouTube and LinkedIn and the comments and the DMs where they say, man, I got a 3x ROAS, I need to be day one profitable, all of this other stuff, and it's because they're not actually looking at PSM. If they were looking at PSM, they would realize that all of the things they need are all of the things holding them back from what they deserve. And with that being said, I want you to know this. You 100% deserve this. If you've been successful enough to actually up your budget and have something that works, when you work on PSM, you're going to start to be able to grow your business. And you can also focus on things above and beyond vanity metrics on Facebook and on reports from your performance marketers, and start to look at the things that are gonna move your business forward. How much time does it take to make X amount of profit? How can we shorten that time by making the AOVs bigger? How can we make that profit larger by getting the average person to buy more often? How do we get more people to that profit, which raises the LTV, by improving the second purchase rate? How do we make a better business? What matters here, that profitable scaling margin, the reason it's called profitable scaling margin is because it's how much of your margin can you invest profitably in scaling your business. This is actionable information. LTV to CAC doesn't tell you that. ROAS does not tell you that. Those metrics basically don't tell you anything other than a nice little business health check. But there's no actionability from that data, which means it's basically useless unless you just want to feel good. With that being said, I want you to feel good, and you watching this has made me feel good. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit all the buttons down below. Until next time, I'll see you on the internet. Bye.